everybody, welcome to another Yarn Scrap Friday, and this week I'm going to be showing you how to make some daffodils. And this would have been a good pattern for Mothering Sunday last Sunday. In the UK it's Mothering Sunday, but the Mothering Sunday in America I think comes later, so that's good. But I didn't design this until after Mother's Day, so I do apologise, but hopefully a little touch of spring coming your way. And to make these daffodils, these realistic looking daffodils, we're going to be using some yellow yarn, and I've chosen a slightly darker yellow for the tube part in the middle and a slightly lighter yellow for the petals. And this is a DK light worsted weight yarn, so yarn weight of 3, but you can use any yarn. Worsted weight's probably be fine as well. And you're also going to need a little bit of green yarn as well. And this is slightly thicker, this is a chunky yarn. That's just going to be used for the stem, just to thicken up the stem, so you don't need very much of this at all. So a little bit of green yarn, and we're going to be using a 3.5 millimeter E crochet hook to go with this DK yarn. And you're also going to need a pair of scissors and a yarn needle for sewing in those ends. And you're also going to need some florist tape as well, and you can pick this up from your local florist, or you may even find it in a craft store. You can also get this on eBay as well. This is called florist tape, and it's kind of a sort of strange, quite thin crepe paper type tape, so you need some of that. You're going to need some florist wire as well, this green florist wire. We're going to need just one of those like that, so just thin enough just to be able to bend it. Okay, I think that's about it, so let's begin. Okay, so we're going to start off with the darker yellow to begin. So that's the colour that you're going to be using for the centre tube part, which I'm sure has a technical name that I don't know. So we're going to start with the tube part in the middle first. And the first thing to do is we're going to chain 4. Okay, so we're going to chain 4. So we're going to do our little slip knot to begin, like so. And we're going to chain 4. So 1, 2, 3 and 4. So I'm going to chain 4. Then you want to find your first chain that you made. I'm just going to pop our hook into that first chain like so. We're going to bring the yarn through that first chain, then straight through the loop on your hook to do a slip stitch, and that creates a little loop joined at the beginning and the end. And in the middle you can see there is a hole, of course, don't confuse it with your chain 1. And into that hole we need to work 6 single crochet, and this pattern's in US terminology. So I'm going to put my hook into that center hole, then just bring the yarn through the middle, and then just wrapping it around the chains. You don't need to worry how many chains you got now. I'm just going to yarn over and do a single crochet like so. We need 6 of these, so I'm going to go back in again, do another one. So it's 1 and 2, back into the middle again, 3, back into the middle again, wrapping it round, 4, back into the centre, 5, oops, and the last one, 6. Okay, 6 single crochet into that loop, and then you can just pull your tail end and the hole should come in slightly. If it doesn't, it probably means you haven't worked in right into the centre. You've probably worked into that chain 1 by accident. Okay, so then what we're going to do is we're just going to slip stitch in our first single crochet. So find your first single crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Put our hook into there. Like so. Bring the yarn through the single crochet, straight through the loop on your hook to do a slip stitch. So by the end of that round you should have a stitch count of 6. Okay. Okay, so moving on to the next round, what we're going to do is we're going to go straight into that next stitch, and we're going to do 2 single crochet. So So go into that next stitch and do 1 single crochet, and then go back into the same stitch and do another one. So you've got 2 in there, 2 single crochet in there, and then you want to do 2 single crochet in each stitch around back to the beginning. So we're doubling up our stitch count from 6 to 12. So we go into the next one, next stitch, and do 2 single crochet in there as well. 1 and another one in the same stitch, then 2 single crochet in the next stitch, 1 and another one in the same stitch, 2 in there, 2 in the next one, 1 and another one in the same stitch, 2 in the next one, 1 and another one in the same stitch, and then 2 single crochet in the last stitch, 1 and another one in the same stitch, like so. And then you're back to the beginning, and you can check by counting 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11 and 12. Okay, so you should have 12 single crochet by the end of that round. And what we want to do is find that first single crochet that you did, put your hook in there and do a slip stitch. Bring the yarn through that first single crochet, then straight through the loop on your hook. Okay, so by the end of round 2 you should have a stitch count of 12. Okay, so now we're going to move on to making the actual front tube shape here. And what we're going to do first is we're just going to chain 1, but we're not going to count that as a stitch at all. We're pretty much going to ignore that chain 1. And then what we need to do is we will need to work into the front loops only, because normally when we go into a stitch we go under 2 bits of yarn there, but we just want to go under the front one only, just that 1 bit of yarn. But we're going to start in the same stitch that we just slip stitched into. So if you can, bring your hook down and going back into that first single crochet that you slip stitched into, we want to go back into there, but we just want to go into the front loop only. So normally we would go all the way through, going under both bits of yarn there, but we just want to go under the front loop only, like that. It can be a little bit tight at first, but you just want to go under that front loop only. And we're going to do 1 single crochet in there. Okay, just 1 single crochet, like so. I'm going to do 1 single crochet in each stitch around back to the beginning, but just going into the front loop. So the next stitch, again, we're just going to go under that front loop only and do a single crochet. And the same with the rest of the stitches, just under that front loop only and do a single crochet. Okay, so that's 3, next stitch front loop only, 4, the next stitch front loop only, 5, next stitch front loop only, 6, next stitch front loop only, 7, next stitch 8, front loop only, next stitch 9, front loop only, next stitch 10, front loop only, next stitch 11, front loop only, and then the last one 12, front loop only. There we go, 12. 1 single crochet in there. So you do 1 single crochet in each stitch around, starting in that same stitch we slip stitched into, but just going into the front loops only, because we're going to leave these back loops to make the petals. And then it looks like there's another stitch there, but that's what I call a fake stitch. and then there's your tiny little chain one. So we're going to skip our chain one, find that first single crochet and slip stitch into there, but we're going to go through both loops as normal, working normally now. Do a slip stitch into that first single crochet. Okay, so by the end of that round you should still have a stitch count of 12. And what we're going to do now for the next round is we're going to chain one again. Again, ignore that as a stitch, but going back into the same first single crochet that you just slip stitched into, I'm going to go into there, but go in as normal, go under both loops. Okay, just working as normal, and do a single crochet. Then we're going to do one single crochet in each stitch around, just working into the stitches as normal, so going under both loops. So do one single crochet in the next stitch, then one single crochet in each stitch around, working into the stitches as normal. So that's 3, next stitch, 4, next stitch 5, next stitch 6, next stitch 7, next stitch 8, next stitch 9, next stitch 10, next stitch 11, and the last stitch 12, working into them as normal. And there's what I call the fake stitch. Always looks like another stitch, but that's there to confuse you. Just above there, that's gone really small, is your chain one. We're going to ignore that, find your first single crochet and do a slip stitch into there, and the arm through, straight through the loop on your hook. Okay, and then we're just going to pop it out that way just to check how it looks. Okay, so that's the end of the next round. You still have a stitch count of 12. You may find it easier to work with it popped out this way, which is fine, because you can work this way until it's finished, then we can pop it inside out when we need to. Okay, so just work this way for now. Okay, so then what we're going to do, we're going to do the same thing again. We're going to chain one and ignore that as a stitch, and we're going to do, what we're going to do, we're going to do one single crochet in that same stitch that we slip stitched into. So we're going to go back, put our hook back into that stitch that we slip stitched into, and do one single crochet in there. Okay, one single crochet, then and just working into it as normal. Okay, working into our stitches normally now. In the next stitch we're going to do 2 single crochet. So in the next stitch we're going to do 2 single crochet. So there's 1, go back into the same stitch and do another single crochet. So you've got two in there. Then in the next stitch we're going to just do 1 single crochet, so just 1. Then in the next stitch we'll do 2 single crochet, 1 and another one in the same stitch. And you want to repeat that around, doing 1 single crochet in the next stitch, 2 single crochet, 1 single crochet, 2 single crochet, 1 single crochet, 2 single crochet. Back to the beginning, and you should end on 2 single crochet, and you should have a stitch count of 18. Okay, so I'm just going to do that. So 1 single crochet, then 2 single crochet in the next stitch, 1 and another one in the same stitch. Okay, just go up to the last stitch and you should end on 2 single crochet, 1 and another one in the same stitch. Then we do the same thing again. There's our fake stitch, ignore that. There's our tiny little chain one, skip that, find that first single crochet and slip stitch into there. And by the end of that round you should have a stitch count of 18. And then what we're going to do is just going to do a simple round of chain one, going back into the same first single crochet you slip stitched into, do a 1 single crochet, just the one. We're going to do 1 single crochet in each stitch around, so you're keeping a stitch count of 18. Okay, so just 1 single crochet into each stitch around, so you keep a stitch count of 18. Okay, Okay, and when you get to the end, there's your fake stitch, ignore that. Tiny little chain one, we're going to skip that. Find your first single crochet that you did and slip stitch into there. You should still have a stitch count of 18. And then we're going to move on to the last increase rounds, and what we're going to do, same thing again, we're going to chain one, ignore that as a stitch, and we're going to go back into the same first single crochet we slip stitched into and do one single crochet. And we're going to do one single crochet in the next stitch by itself, and then in the next stitch we're going to do two single crochet. So one and another one in the same stitch. Then we do repeat that pattern again. In the next stitch we do one single crochet by itself. Next stitch we do one single crochet by itself. So that's one single crochet in the next two. And then we do two single crochet. One and another one in the same stitch. And repeat that pattern back to the beginning, doing one single crochet, one single crochet, two single crochet, one single crochet, one single crochet, two single crochet, back to the beginning, and you should end on two single crochet and have a stitch count of 24. Okay, so one single crochet in the next two, then two single crochet in the next stitch, one and another one in the same stitch. Okay, and then when you're back to the beginning, same thing again, ignore your fake stitch, ignore your chain one, find your first single crochet and slip stitch into there. And then what we're going to do is a simple round. Again, we're going to chain one, ignore that as a stitch, go back into the first single crochet you slip stitched into and do one single crochet, just one single crochet, and we're going to do one single crochet in each stitch around. So you do one single crochet in the next stitch and one single crochet in each stitch around back to the beginning, and you should keep a stitch count of 24. Okay, it's just one single crochet in each stitch around. Okay, and when you finish that round, we just skip our fake stitch, skip our chain one, find your first single crochet and slip stitch into there. Just join the round. And by the end of that round, you should still have a stitch count of 24. And what we're going to do now is we're just going to do like a little picot edging, just to add the little frilly edge. And that's really simple to do. What we do is we chain three, 1, 2, 3, chain 3, slip stitch in that first single crochet we just slip stitched into. So go back into there and do a little slip stitch. So bring it through and straight through the loop on your hook, a little bit fiddly. Then we're going to slip stitch in the next two. So slip stitch in the next stitch, then slip stitch in the next stitch as well. Okay. Then we do the same thing again, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, chain 3, slip stitch in the same stitch below your chains, the one you just last slip stitched into. So slip stitch in there again, then slip stitch in the next two. So slip stitch in the next stitch and slip stitch in the next stitch. And then repeat the process all the way back to the beginning, doing the same thing again, chain 3, slip stitch in the same stitch below that you last slip stitched into, and then slip stitch in the next two, next stitch and the next stitch. Okay, back to the beginning. So I shall do that and then I shall come back. Okay, and then when you're back to the beginning, just slip stitch in that one, and then doesn't really matter where, just slip stitch and then our last two back to the beginning. And then we're going to cut our yarn. Panic then, thinking I hadn't finished the yarn, but we have. And I'm just going to pull that through, and the first thing to do is tidy up this yarn end. So this is actually going to be on the inside, so I'm just going to sew slightly over first and then come back through to this side There we go. Now I'm going to just sew this by sewing down some stitches and then sewing back in the opposite direction. That pretty much secures into place, and then I'm going to trim the excess. Okay, so you've got a little sort of funnel shape like this, but we need to turn this inside out so it's facing this direction. Okay, this is where, so we can see our back loops here. You can see, I'll bring it up to the camera. You should be able to see your back loops that we skipped on that third round. We're going to be working into those now. Okay. Okay, so what we want to do now is to join our other yellow that you're going to be using for the petals. And I'm just going to get this. Sure. And you want to find the first back loop only. Now sometimes it can be quite hard to see your back loops, but it can be quite easy to see the last one that you skipped there. So what I do is, you should have 12 of these, 12 back loops that we skipped. So find the last one that you skipped and then count backwards. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, hang on, let's start again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 11, 12. Now the first one, which is this 12th one here, it's going to look a little bit awkward compared to the other ones, but there it is, and it should be quite easy to work into. If it's not, if it's a struggle to get into, then it probably isn't your back loop. But once you've counted backwards to find your first back loop you skipped, we're going to join our other colour. Just hold that over your hook, hold in place, and with your finger bring that through that little back loop, like so. And what we're going to do is we are going to chain 8. We're going to chain 8. So just holding the tail end with your finger, chain 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so we've chained 8. And then we're going to do 1 single crochet in our second stitch from hook. Now we don't count the loop on our hook. There's our first stitch, there's our second. And what you want to make sure that you do is to just go under 1 bit of yarn on the left hand side at the top there. So just making sure you're going under 1 bit of yarn, because we're going to work back into these chains when we come back round. Oh, I shall explain it as we go. But making sure you're only going under 1 bit of yarn into that second stitch from hook, we're going to do a single crochet. Okay, then in the next chain we're going to do a half double crochet, so we're going to yarn over, find your next chain, and again making sure just to go under that 1 bit of yarn, do a half double crochet, pull through all 3, then we're going to do a double crochet in the next stitch, the next chain, making sure just 1 bit of yarn, do a double crochet. Then we're going to do a treble crochet, and to do a treble we wrap the yarn around our hook twice this time, go into the next chain just under that 1 bit of yarn, bring the yarn through, and if you're new to trebles, an easy way to remember how to do anything that's a double crochet or bigger, you just pull through 2 loops until you end up with 1. So we yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops, get 3 loops, yarn over, pull through the next 2, got 2 loops, yarn over, pull for the last 2 until we get to just 1. And there's a treble. I'm going to do a treble in the next stitch as well. So wrap the yarn around your hook twice again. Go into the next stitch. Just 1 bit of yarn. And yarn through. And again, pull through 2, first 2. Pull for the next 2 loops. Yarn over, pull for the last 2 loops. To do another treble. And then we're going to do a double crochet in the next chain, just a double crochet, and we're going to finish up in the last chain with a half double crochet. Again, just making sure to go onto that 1 bit of yarn, half double crochet, and that has created effectively half a petal. Okay, then what we're going to do is we're going to do a slip stitch in the next back loop. Okay, so go into the next back loop and do a slip stitch. Okay, Then in the next back loop we're going to do a slip stitch as well. Let's find that next back loop and do a slip stitch in there as well. So you're slip stitching in the next 2 back loops. Then we're going to repeat these steps again. So we're going to chain 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Then in our second stitch from hook, don't count the loop on your hook, there's the first, there's the second. Going under 1 bit of yarn only, we do a single crochet. Next stitch is a half double crochet. Next stitch is a double crochet. Next stitch is that treble, wrap the yarn around your hook twice. And just pull through 2, pull through 2, pull through 2 for a treble. Then another treble in the next stitch. Pull through 2, pull through 2, pull through 2. Then a double in the next stitch, the next chain. Double crochet, and then the last chain, half double crochet. Same thing again. Slip stitch in the next back loop and slip stitch in the next back loop, and then chain 8 and do the next one. So you're going to repeat that round. So chain 8, then 1 single crochet in your second stitch from hook, then a half double crochet, 2 trebles, a double crochet and a half double crochet, slip stitch in the next 2 back loops until you have 6 half petals. Okay, so I shall do that and then I shall come back and show you what to do next. Okay, so I've just finished the last petal and slip stitch in that last back loop there, and then slip stitch in. What we're going to do is we're going to slip stitch in that same first one that we started, so you can get in there and do a little slip stitch in there as well. Okay, so you should have 6 of these like half petal shapes. What we're going to do now is we're going to create the other side of the petal. So hopefully if you've just been working into the under 1 bit of yarn when you've worked into your chains, it should be fairly easy to see your stitches, your chains still. So we should be able to work back into these again. Okay. So what you want to do is making sure to pull that tail end so it doesn't trick you. You want to find your first chain, okay, of this first half petal that we did, and we're going to mirror the other side. So we're going to start off with a half double crochet. So we're going to yarn over and going into that first chain, which you should be able to see there. It's quite a big one actually because it's quite loose with that tail end. Go into there and do a half double crochet. It's a little bit easier as you go around. Just pull that tail end just to tighten that. Then in the next chain we're going to do a double crochet, so we're just mirroring the opposite side. Double crochet in the next one. Then we're going to do a treble, if you remember, in the next chain there. Treble, pull through 2, pull through 2, pull through 2. Then in the next chain up we're going to do another treble in that next chain, you see. It's getting a bit dark now, running out of light. So a treble in there, and the next one is a double. Next one is a half double crochet. And the very last one, which is a little bit hard to see, just want to just put it open, just see in there slightly. Put a hook in there, and it's a single crochet. So a single crochet in the top. Okay, so you've done the other side of the petal. Then what we're going to do is we're going to slip stitch into that first stitch on this side. Let's put your hook into there and just do a little slip stitch. Then we're going to chain 1. Just going to chain 1 at the end, and we're going to slip stitch into that same stitch that we just slip stitched into. That's a mouthful. So go back into there and do another slip stitch. And what that does is create just a little point on the end there, which you'll see better at the end. Then we're going to slip stitch back to the base. So do quite loose slip stitches. Don't make them too tight. So we're going to slip stitch in the next stitch, just down this left hand side. Little slip stitch in the next stitch. And slip stitch in the next stitch. Slip stitch in the next stitch. And I'm keeping it nice and loose, so they're not tight, so they don't pull on the leaf, petal rather. Slip stitch in the next stitch. Then slip stitch in that last one. Okay, and then we're back to base, as it were. And then what we're going to do is we just do the same thing again. So we find our next first chain, which is, don't confuse it with these ones down here. You want to find that first chain. You see it there? Just pull, if you pull it open, you should see it there. And in there, we're going to mirror this stitch, which is a half double crochet. So go into there and do a half double crochet. That's why it's important to only crochet into that, under that one bit of yarn, so you can see these stitches, these chains again. Then the next one there is going to be a double crochet. Then the next one there is a treble. So yarn over twice, pull through two, pull through two, pull through two. Then a treble in the next one. You see the next one there? Two, pull through two, pull through two. Then a double crochet in the next one. Half double crochet in that next one. And then finding that last one, which can be a little tricky to find. You can always just place your hook at the end, really, in a rough area and just push. It should find it. And do a single crochet. And then we do the same thing again. We slip stitch in that first stitch on this side. A little slip stitch. Chain one. Slip stitch in that same stitch again. And then slip stitch back to base. Slip stitch in the next stitch, keep them loose, slip stitch in the next stitch. You see that little chain one creates a little point there. Slip stitch in the next one, slip stitch in the next one, slip stitch in the next one, and slip stitch in that last one. And then we're back to the beginning. We're going to ignore everything on the base and we're going to go straight into that next first chain and do a half double crochet, and we just repeat the same things again. So half double crochet. So just repeat that all the way around, double crochet in the next one until you get back to the beginning, and then I shall come back. Okay, treble. Okay, so I'm desperately running out of light. I've had to put on a light, but I've just finished and slip stitched down to the last petal. Then I am actually going to slip stitch into the actual main. So just find a back loop down here somewhere and just do a little slip stitch just to finish off. And there we go. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to trim my yarn, pull that through, and then we want to get our yarn needle. So that works quite well actually. One of those SAD lumps. And I'm just going to sew to the back. Like so, turn over, and I want to get all my tail ends to the centre. There's a reason for this. So I'm just going to sew to the centre, and this one as well, which is the beginning tail end. Just sew to the centre as well. And there we go, there's our basic tulip. Tulip, what am I talking about? Daffodil. It's because I made tulips last time. So there we go, there's our daffodil. like so. And all that's left to do now is to work on the stem. Okay. Okay, so what we're going to do for the stem is we're going to take one piece of our florist wire. Here we go, got our florist wire. And this is about 30 centimeters long, I think. They just come this length already. And you may want to use some jewellery pliers, but I've left mine in the other room, so I'm just going to bend it with my finger. And what you want to do is just bend it over, like so, to a little hook like that. Then I'm going to bend it again, so it doubles over. Fairly easy to bend, like so. So you've got like a little almost paper clip shape. Then we're going to get some of our chunky green yarn, and you want to take a couple of lengths that match the same length as the stem, but a little bit longer. And you want 2 of these. I'm just going to fold that in half and then cut. And then I'm going to, so you got that double length. So you got the length of your wire times 2. So you want 2 lengths. But I'm not going to trim it because what I've actually just twigged on camera a better way of doing this. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to feed one end through, because last time I cut it in half and then tied it. I'm actually just going to feed that through so it stays as a loop on the end like that. And this just thickens the stem. And then what we're going to do is we're going to get a little bit of florist tape. So we get a little bit of florist tape. And let's take just about that much. So I'm just going to work on the end first. I need to figure out which side is sticky. It's like crepe paper type tape. And I'm just going to neaten off this end. A little bit. Okay. Just going to wrap that round. Just to neaten that off. Okay. I'm just going to wrap that around, just tucking in all that yarn as well. I've just done a little bit for now. There we go. So I've just neatened off that end for now. And I'm going to get our daffodil, not a tulip, and I'm just going to take the end of our wire and push it through that centre loop hole, right for the middle. Camera's in the way. Okay, and then I'm going to take these yarn ends and my yarn needle, thread both ends onto my yarn needle. Just do one at a time. Okay, so thread both ends on, and then I'm just going to sew through the centre of the daffodil as well, just to get these pieces of yarn through. Take off the yarn needle, pull that through, and then what you need to do is push and pull the, move these yellow ones out of the way. Just want to pull the green and the wire. I want to pull that through the centre, push a little bit until you've got, let's just move out of the way, until you've got that little nubbin loop that you made at the end there. And then what you want to do is bend that over. Okay, bend that over so that secures into place. And then what you want to do is we want to neaten that off. So what I actually did here is I actually sewed just around to hide the green bit. I mean, in the centre of a daffodil you do have like little bits that come out, but we're just going to hide this green so it's the same colour as the yellow. So I'm going to take a short length of the same colour yellow, onto my yarn needle, and I'm just going to hide it by sewing over it from the back. So I'm going to come from the back. So I'm just coming from the back. You can see my yarn needle coming through, like so. Come from the back, leave a little bit of a tail. Now I'm just going to go over to the opposite side and come out at the back. And I'm going to keep doing that. You can see it goes over the top of our green bit, and then I go back to the other side and do the same thing again. And I'm going to keep doing that until this has been covered. Just keep doing that until this disappears and become a bit more yellow, like in there. Okay, I'm just going to do that until that's covered up, and I shall come back. Okay, so I've finished sewing that just to hide it a little bit, and then what I'm going to do is, very fiddly to do on camera, it's going to sew this tail end to the centre as well, just so that's near to the middle. So we've got all our tail ends, got the green ones here, we've got all these tail ends, should be in the middle, like so. And all that's left to do is to hide all these tail ends under some florist tape. So I'm just going to get some more florist tape, and you want to take double the length of your wire, so that's one length, and then double the length. That tends to be enough. Again, find the sticky side, and then all that's left to do is to hide all these messy tail ends under your florist tape. And doing the beginning bit is always the fiddliest bit. You need to get it as close to the flower as possible. Might be quite wide and thick, but you just want to wrap this round. Very fiddly to do on camera. So just wrap that round as best you can. You can always come back and add more tape at the top if you need to. And then basically just twist this around, going slightly at an angle, until you have hidden all these tail ends. Okay, so I'm going to do that. There we go. It gets easier as you go because you can just twist it as you go. I'm going to do that all the way to the end and then come back and show you just how to finish off the end. Okay. Okay, so when you get to the end, there's the end of the wire. I just wrap it slightly past the end of the wire, then fold it over, and then I go back in the opposite direction. So let's turn it over. Let's go back in the opposite direction, and that just neatens off the end so you've got no sharp wire appearing. Okay, so let's just finish that off. There we go. I'm sure you can do a neater job than me. And there we go, there is our daffodil stem complete. And you can just shape your flower more, like so. And the last thing to do is, if you're happy with the end, is about that far into the wire, you want to just bend your wire, your stem, so it looks more authentic. And there we go, there is our finished daffodil. There we go, and we can add that to our other daffodils. So there we go. I hope you enjoyed that tutorial. I hope it wasn't too fiddly for you, and I hope you can manage to make some lovely daffodils. I love daffodils, and you can make these in all different types of shades of daffodil colours. So you could have Rather than having two separate yellows, you could have a lighter tube stencil, you could have a darker yellow petals, or you can make them in white as well, or orange, whatever you fancy making. So there we go, a little touch of spring to brighten your day. Cheers for watching, guys. Bye!